Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining Private Vista for our latest webinar. Our presenter today is Amy Chinitz, and she will be teaching us techniques on how to create a work-at-home space that is peaceful and productive. Amy is a certified KonMari consultant, as well as a licensed clinical social worker, and her approach combines clinical therapeutic practice skills with Marie Kondo's method of choosing what sparks joy to help people achieve their goals for their home workspace and in the bigger picture of their lives. Without further introduction, I'll turn our presentation over to Amy.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. As is the situation in our present day life, I'm working from home too, so I'll give a disclaimer that I may be interrupted at some point today with screams of little children vying for my attention, but they have someone else watching them at the moment, so no worries, they're safe. They're just a little annoying because that's how kids are. But anyway, on to the subject at hand. We're talking today about joy. So Matt mentioned working from home and setting up a work from home space that sparks joy. And I think we really have to start with home in general, because that's where we are, and it's hard to focus on work when the rest of the home has clutter. So I'm gonna actually go through the traditional KonMari method that was intended for home-based tidying, and we'll also talk about ways that you can apply this to your work from home space specifically and your work life in general. As you heard in that gracious introduction, my name is Amy Chinitz, and I'm a certified KonMari consultant. So that means that I trained with Marie Kondo in the Japanese style of organizing that she founded. You may have seen Marie Kondo on the hit Netflix series, Tidying Up with Marie Kondo. These two books were New York Times bestsellers, as is her brand new book already, which is called Spark Joy at Work. So what is the KonMari method? As I mentioned, it's a Japanese decluttering and organizing method. But what's really different about the KonMari method from traditional home organizing is that the focus is on how the space feels rather than how it looks. So we're actually going to pay attention to this key question: does it spark joy? And then we'll ask that of everything we're evaluating, and if not, discard it. So it's a little bit extreme, but in a very positive way. What we're going to do is called joy checking, for what I like to think of as a value alignment. Like, is your physical space reflective of the life that you want to lead? And that is now something that we want to apply to digital clutter as well, right? Those inboxes and open files. Time is the same. What's in your schedule for the day? Is it something that you're excited to show up for and put your best foot forward? And is your energy in line with how you want to live your life as well? So this is big. It's not just about keeping things neat and organized, actually. Okay, So here are the 6 rules of tidying, which is kind of a bigger picture view of the method from the perspective of a consultant. So step 1 is the commitment to tidying up. And everyone who's here with us today or viewing this video in the future, you should congratulate yourself. You're already somewhere, you've moved yourself on the spectrum of readiness to make a change towards making a change. Maybe some of you have already begun. Maybe you're just thinking about it now, but you have some momentum, and we're gonna try to build some more of that together so that you can harness it and keep going with it, because it's a process, right? So the next step is imagine your ideal lifestyle. So this can be done in whatever way would bring you the most clarity. People like to do vision boards. If you've never tried to do it, this is a great opportunity to start towards the purpose of imagining the home that you want to live in. Or if you're doing this for work purposes specifically, what is the job of your dreams, or your work life look like? And you're going to keep that vision of your goals in mind constantly throughout this process, because you're going to use that vision to check in with as you make your decisions about what stays and what we're saying goodbye to. 3 is choose what sparks joy. So this is that catchphrase that you may have heard. There are many jokes and memes about any criticism of Marie Kondo for this silly little phrase, does it spark joy? What does that mean? And I've really learned in practice that this question is not the same for everyone, but the essence of it is, how does it make you feel, right? So does it spark joy means, is this something that contributes to that life that I want to lead? And depending on what we're evaluating, we might ask that question in different ways. 4 is tidy by category, not location. So this is something that's also very different from traditional home organizing, because if you didn't have a method like this to follow that was so directive, and you're just choosing a room to start in, it's usually, I think, from my past experience as a recovering messy person, it was always the kitchen, because that's what needed to be addressed most acutely, right? That's where there's always a mess. Every time you make food, you have to clean it up. So tidy by category, not location, can be very freeing and can allow you to address everything in the home, or else you'll never finish, is how Marie Kondo puts it. And my experience tells me that's correct. 5th, here are the categories in a specific order that we recommend following. And it goes clothing, books, paper, kimono, which is miscellaneous, kind of all-encompassing of everything else that's not the other 4, and sentimental is last. And we'll do a little bit of a deeper dive into each one of those. And the final rule to keep in mind is finish discarding first. and then determine storage solutions. You know, whenever, very often when I have a new client and I'm, you know, speaking with them ahead of time to kind of go over the goals of the work or what they're looking to get out of it, I have people ask me, what can I do to prepare for that first session? Or they want to tell me about all these wonderful organizing products that they've bought in anticipation of our work together, which is wonderful and, you know, deserves, you deserve credit for those actions that you've taken along that spectrum of readiness, that continuum that we were talking about. But we actually prefer that you don't buy anything at the beginning here, because you won't know what you need to store until you're done. And that's only after each category. So you're not making a ridiculous mess of your home with all these categories before you're allowed to store them. We do one category at a time and then store it, and then the next. So here's a little bit of a deeper dive into each one of those rules. First, the commitment to tidying. Tidying is just a tool, not the final destination. So another thing that Marie Kondo has explained is her hypothesis that life begins once tidying is complete. So we're actually talking about life-changing magic. That's the title of the book, of her first book that was a bestseller. So tidying is actually, through this method, we're talking about it as a once-in-a-lifetime event. If you go through everything that you have in your home that's there right now or whenever you begin, and not bring in more as you're going through this process, at the end, you'll have made, you know, a conscious mind shift. Like, it's very, it's transformative. And there's actually a mind shift that happens. In addition to having a clutter-free space, you will have to evaluate everything from then on according to, does it spark joy? So we actually guarantee that you won't rebound, because, you know, as I like to think of it, once you've let go of those things that you feel burdened by, you're not going to go back. You're not going to want to go back. So this is a very thorough examination of what you've brought into your home already to this point, as you keep that vision of the future you want in mind. So, you know, these are the questions to ask yourself. Why tidy? Why now? And here I want to talk a little bit about applying this to work. Let me see if I can get back to my screen. What did I do? Okay. I tried to move my dialog box over, but I'm not allowed to do that or else I lose my presentation. So I think I got it. It's okay. So thinking about why to do this, I think everybody already knows this, right? There's a tremendous impact that clutter has on us, especially at work, right? If you come in to begin a work day in a cluttered space, you won't be able to fulfill your goals for work in the most creative, efficient way possible, right? There's that. And as a social worker, I can also see and I like to focus with people on how does this impact your anxiety, right? Especially now, being home all the time. If you're in a cluttered space, along with the other ways that the world is spinning out of control, your home space, if it's not an oasis for you of relaxation and, you know, a sanctuary of peace, that's another thing that's contributing to anxiety that you may feel right now. And in, you know, looking at this commitment and evaluating where you are in readiness to make the commitment, I recommend that, you know, whether you're ready now or whether you're not, that when you are, you set a deadline for when you're going to start and when you'll finish. If, you know, and this is very situational depending on what you're looking to tidy here. If it's your home workspace, maybe this is a week of consecutive efforts, you know, on a consistent basis. And if it's your home and you have a big home and you are someone who's accumulated a lot over decades, then I suggest giving yourself anywhere from 3 to 6 months. I feel in my own process, which was actually a criteria for me to become a consultant, I had to complete the whole tidying festival, as we like to call it, prior to even taking the seminar with Marie Kondo. I had to submit photo proof and, you know, like make sure that I really understood and felt the life-changing magic personally before I could learn the method. Mom, please open this. Yeah, sorry, I'm just opening a water bottle here.
Amy, and while, just sorry to interject, but actually we're only able to see your webcam right at this second, not your PowerPoint presentation.
Oh, okay. Thanks for. I'm glad my daughter gave us a chance to.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Back on. All right. Sorry, everyone. Yeah, I completed this process in about 3 months in my home, but I didn't feel until 1 year later from when I started that I was really complete, because I went through all the categories, but then I went back and edited in each category until I really felt better. And maybe editing is something that happens continually over your lifetime, and that's fine, but you'll never have to go through this like intense picking up of thousands of items more than once. Second rule was imagine your ideal lifestyle. The question of what you want to keep is actually the question of how you want to live your life. So maybe that visioning exercise is hard for you. Maybe, you know, for most of us, it's not obvious what the answer to that question is. You know, what kind of home do I want to live in, or what kind of work do I want to do? But this can be a fun exercise. It's meant to be totally positive experience to go through this part of the process. You know, probably most of us are adults on this call today, but who's to say that we can't go back and ask these questions? You know, it's not too late. You're probably working already, but, you know, so you may not naturally ask yourself, what kind of work do I want to do? But you should. You're allowed. And in this strange historical moment, also, I feel like another silver lining we can find is looking at this as, I've heard someone call it the great pause, right? Like, why not seize the opportunity to reimagine some of how we live our lives? So envision a life that elicits a positive emotional reaction for you. And that's one definition of sparks joy. Third, keep items that spark joy. What does it mean to spark joy? And what does this mean for work, right? Does work really spark joy? Or, work things like staplers or office supplies, computers. It's funny because I like to think of the paper category for the home tidying as I think of this question for evaluating your work. Paper doesn't really spark joy. Like when I'm looking through bills, most likely the initial response is kind of negative, right? But that's not what this process is about. So what we want to do is push yourself further in evaluating what's present in front of you. So maybe you're looking at a utility bill and you think of it as the documentation of the heat or air condition or water that your family enjoys, right? And same for work, right? Maybe those tools that we use are things that allow us to accomplish our most creative goals. So really, it may feel different when you pick up these office supplies than when you pick up those sentimental items in your personal home space. But what we're looking for is, how does it make you feel? And can you discern a positive response that you're having to something, or something that it irritates you, or you feel burdened by, or no longer suits you, or its purpose has been served, right? So there are different ways of putting it depending on what we're looking at. And it's very easy to focus on throwing things away. Like, that's what all those really funny memes about Marie Kondo's contribution to like the I don't know if anyone's seen this. It's like a cartoon of the globe and then a huge pile of trash, and it says something like Marie Kondo's discard pile. And I've heard her answer this question in person, actually, and of why do we focus on what to keep rather than what to throw out, as other methods do. And her answer was actually that you can feel a high from throwing things out. And you have probably all felt this way. If you've ever, gone through a closet that you're just totally done with and you're just chucking things, like filling up garbage bags, and it feels great. There's something very cathartic about that. But if you shift your focus on what to keep, it won't be so burdensome to go through this process. And if you've ever done that marathon garbage chucking experience that I just described, you probably know that it doesn't lead you to keep going. Like, you're ready to be done as soon as you're done with that space. But if, on the other hand, I'm looking through the pile of what I've taken out to pick out what I love, what speaks to me on, a deep level. And what I'm excited to rediscover and highlight somehow, it's a whole different story. It's a whole different experience of tidying, right? That's not just cleaning. That's bringing, you know, the most important things in life into focus. That's deep, right? That's what we're going for. And also finding out what sparks joy is an exercise in learning to trust your intuition also, because there's a lot of decisions to make. So you have to hone your decision-making muscle, which is very positive and has far-reaching impact on everything in life. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later too. So here's an example of going by category and not location. So I stepped into this woman's bedroom on a first session, and it's a beautiful bedroom and a beautiful closet, but she's totally overwhelmed by it, right? And she reached out for help. So that's, you know, that tells you her emotional state, basically, that it was just too much. It's not, and you know, it wasn't obvious to her how to begin, even though she had read the book. And we were very happy to get in there and help her simplify it. And this, truthfully, was the only session that this client had, because she learned the process, and she learned, you know, how to trust herself in making these decisions without the guidance and support. So we were there to simplify it. In this closet, you could find items from every category. It was clothing, books, paper, kimono, and sentimental. Easily, I could see them all like right in this picture. But we're starting with clothing, right? That's number one. And what you do with every category is you put all of the items from that category in a big pile. And this is this is crazy. It's, you know, kind of insane to see all of your clothes taken out and put on the bed. And it, you know, it seems ridiculous. Like, what do I really have to do that? And the answer is do it, because there's a reason, and it's that we want you to be confronted with what you have, so that you have to take a pause and digest it. You have to see how much you've accumulated and think about, you know, whether this is a collection that is too much for you, or, you know, what you see. When it's all in one place, you can also see things like where there are duplicates of something in the category. And also, this is an opportunity to actually physically clear that space, so you can dust your shelves off and reimagine how you want your space to be set up. So that's another great opportunity. And also, I just want to say here that KonMari is not minimalism. So there is no magic number of items that you're trying to boil it down to. Here, every person can decide how much they want to keep. But often when you make these piles, you know, as Americans, we're consumers, and we have an issue with acquiring things, likely more than we need, and that's where clutter comes from, right? So this is the moment to address it. 5 out of 6, we're getting there, is follow the categories in order, and the order goes from easiest to most difficult. Okay, okay. Thanks. Okay. Sorry. All right, so the first category is clothing. You know that. And the reason why we think that's easiest for most people is because it actually goes on your body. So you can answer that question most easily. How does it make you feel, right? I remember that picture that I just showed you, asking the client if she saw something in that pile that sparked joy for her. You know, even before defining that even further, she was able to do this. And this was someone who was like very formal when we met, you know, probably a little bit apprehensive. And she found this pair of pajamas that she noticed in the pile. She pulled it out and instantly she's softened. I think I'm doing this with my shoulders because I remember her response being physical. Like, you know, some people when they pick something up that they love, that like really, you know, makes them feel good, that their shoulders rise up, or you can see a difference in their face. And often if it's something that you pick up that you're not so sure of, or that like does not suit you, like people make these faces, and you could see it in my body language, hopefully. And we want you to pay attention to yourself, to those responses, and that becomes like your joy meter. You know, like that pair of pajamas was the pinnacle for her of like what we could judge other things against. So if she picked something else up and was doing nothing like the response to those pajamas, you know, that was a reminder, like, okay, this is not sparking joy for you. And, you know, and it goes on that way. So then books, which you do actually take all the books off the shelf. Paper, kimono is that biggest category, and then sentimental is the hardest category, because I mean, I think that's kind of obvious, but here you're given permission to postpone dealing with those sentimental items until the end, because if you find photos, and this is the best example of sentimental that people get overwhelmed by, among your paper or books or wherever, it can really trip you up. You get lost in that, and you could lose the momentum. That's very important in the process. So what we want to do is finish discarding first and then address storage, right? So so now to talk a little bit more about the discarding, because I've described what it's like to find something that you want to keep. But when you notice something that you're ready to part with, what we do is we actually hold it in our hands, express gratitude, like just say a little thank you for, you know, whatever purpose it has served for you, even if that purpose was to teach you what doesn't suit you, and let it go with confidence. Then you're left with only things that you love if you do this really thoroughly. I love this illustration, which shows just this cutest little closet of different categories that have been well curated, and it's just something really happy about it, right? So there is this KonMari aesthetic to the storage, but why organic storage is that it happens naturally. Like before you buy everything from the container store, which we love, but the suggestion is to hold off because it's one of those little magical things that happens along the way that things fall into place. So one of the things that you see here is that arrow pointing upwards is the concept that we like to see things rise to the right in storage, kind of an uplifting energy type of thing. And so everything is kind of going that way. And what else do we see here? You know, that little picture of the bird hung up in the closet. We try to sprinkle these joy sparking objects throughout your home so that everywhere you look, you see something that reminds you of that life that you're striving to lead, and really bringing that physically into your awareness as you move through your day. And the other most important part of storage is keeping items of the same category together, right? So like items together. The funniest exception that everybody, even in a very organized home, that we always find is that there are scissors in every different kind of place in the home. But when you are looking for a scissor, you can never find one, right? So what you want to do at the, at the time that you're ready to address storage is have all of those scissors in one place so that you know where to find them. And maybe you'll actually see that you can give up 3 or 4 pairs and just keep your favorites. And the way that we store things also helps us to take good care of things. So here is that first category, clothing. There's a KonMari folding method, and there, I'm sad that I can't really show you this in person, but there are a ton of YouTube videos out there if you want to see it demonstrated. But this is an illustration of how to do it. And in general, you're looking for the hidden rectangle in every item that you're trying to fold, and you're looking to almost roll it. Once you find that rectangle, you roll it and then store it upright so that you can see what you have. So as opposed to stacking things in a drawer, if you have everything more, rolled, and you can store it upright, kind of like a filing system, you can see everything that you have and love and get to choose for that purpose. And you can also take things out without disrupting everything else in the drawer. Okay, so after closing those books, and I just want to share the magic that I experienced after doing the books category. And these are the things that make you want to continue. I cleared my bookshelf of everything that I felt guilty about, and I was left with a new appreciation for reading, and so were my children. We read more when we were done going through our books thoroughly. It wasn't overwhelming anymore to look at the books, and everything left was something that we were excited to read, and that was truly life-changing. You don't want to keep guilt on a shelf. There's often books that you've started that you have kept, or you're keeping because you think that they're important, you know, like, but they're not really. Like, there's something about it that maybe you think you're not supposed to throw out, or you think that, you know, it's something that should be displayed for whatever position you're in. But I'm going to say permission again, like, give yourself permission to get rid of those things. And here's another opportunity to clarify what you want to be doing in the future. Like, are you looking at a book of a hobby that you no longer enjoy, or doesn't, you know, suit you anymore, for one reason or another? Or, you know, as you look through your books from work, maybe you're turned off by them, and you you know, you allow yourself to have clarity around what you want to continue learning and thinking about and reading. So this is kind of, it's a vehicle for change as you clean up. And paper, this is the category that I know a lot of people kind of struggle with. I had to go through decades of paper myself when I was doing this, but imagine doing it, setting that time aside and having, like, giving the attention to everything. Eventually you'll be done, right? There are a finite amount of things in your space right now. So it is possible to go through it. And we've, like it or not, been gifted this time, right, that uniquely in our lives, that maybe we're ready to address it. So the goal for paper is another one of these kinds of crazy extreme aspects of the KonMari method, where she says that the goal of paper is to discard all of it. So I don't know if I could ever do that. That would be awesome if I got to that point. But we allow 3 subcategories of paper that you can keep. And I love keeping that crazy goal in mind, because really, if you spend just a moment thinking about it, if you really strive to get rid of all of your paper, you'll get a lot closer to that goal than having an opposite view that it's okay to keep everything, right? So to that end, you can keep things that are in these 3 subcategories: things that require action, things that you need to keep forever, and things that you need to keep for some period of time. So take action would be like bills, keep forever, passports, birth certificates, and keep for reference. You know, something that you have to take action on quickly, or that, I mean, you may not take action, but keep for a limited period of time, like a lease or something, and then for a longer period of time, like a mortgage, for instance. And I'm showing these examples of filing systems that keep the paper vertical. And we actually don't want you to make super complicated filing systems with all your little tabs of each person in the household, or, you know, each different project that you're working on at work, so that if you put everything together and when you're looking for something, you have to go through everything so you don't forget about what you have. And also, touching things is an important aspect of this method. There's like a Japanese concept called laying hands, and, you know, I think it's partly conveying you know, with feeling your intentions for things, that, you know, you're being thoughtful about whatever's in front of you. And I skipped over kimono here because everybody's kimono subcategories are going to be different, but they're everything else that we haven't talked about. So like maybe garage kimono, kitchen kimono, and then within that you could have coffee kimono, and you know, whatever else you're pulled towards addressing in your home. And what's fun about the kimono category broadly is that you can pick whichever subcategory within that you want to go to next. So it's kind of like a more self-directed part of the method. And then once you've gone through everything else and you find those sentimental items along the way in the other categories, if you find that something is too hard to make a decision on because it was a gift and you're not ready to let it go, although, you know, you're not really sure how you feel about it, or photos, or you know, what else could be sentimental? Things that were passed down to you, you know, like what, those are a little more complicated than how do you feel about your winter coat, right? So, but once you've gotten to this category, the last category, you'll find that it's not that hard because you've honed that decision-making muscle, and you will allow yourself to thank that memory one last time and not keep a photo of yourself that you don't love, or 10 copies of the picture that you do love, right? Because you've learned by that point that you can hold on to a memory without holding on to the stuff. And really what KonMari allows for is freedom from organizing. At the end of the tidying festival, you're left with a tidy space, so you don't have to spend time on it anymore. Think about, you know, how that could impact work, right? The financial impact of changing your consumption habit, which is kind of universally what people report after this. You know, you can't buy into fast fashion as easily. For example, if your mindset has shifted to wanting to hold on to things that you value, right? Confidence. You gain this trust in yourself for what belongs and what direction you want to go. And gratitude. I like to say we're cultivating an attitude of gratitude through this practice. Clarity, you know, these things that come into focus through the process can be really eye-opening. The next point is improved relationships. We've seen that you change through this if you're honest with yourself and thorough. You learn how to deal with your own stuff, and that automatically impacts and improves the relationships with people around you. Even, you know, not just personal, at work, right? You'll have a new kind of enthusiasm and energy for the work that you're doing, and appreciation for what's around you. And that, you know, that's the best way to help others to influence your situation, is to change yourself, right? It's like any therapy, really. Micro level practice for the bigger stuff. You know, it's fun. It's a funny thing to take the time to KonMari your socks. Really, don't we have more important things to do than that? Isn't that a little bit trite? But if you allow it to just be kind of this therapeutic exercise, it feels really good. Maybe you learn something from your socks, like you find your hiking socks and you get really excited about spending more time outdoors. And that really strikes a chord, and it's a reminder for you of something that you love and you want to do more. And you bring the hiking socks into, you know, the forefront of that sock drawer so that you see it more often and get to, you know, enjoy thinking about doing it again in the future. Yeah, some of the life-changing magic that comes out of it, we've seen clients like choose to act on buying a home, like a second home, or moving, based on what they realize they want to see in their future, what activities they're excited to enjoy in their schedule. And, you know, here I'm just inviting you to go for it. Let's do it. You have a little community here, and you have some tools to start with. You know, if you haven't already seen it, I would invite you to check out that Netflix show, Tidying Up with Marie Kondo, where you can see how she does some of this. And we don't skip any part of what she does in person, in real life either. You know, it starts with this home greeting, and, you know, it would be the same for work too. We could even do just like a tiny 30-second one here together. Right as you're ready to begin the process, you find a place where you feel it's central to what you're ready to address. You close your eyes, you feel what you feel like in the space, and just convey some of your intentions for the work. To say it out loud, you know, to hold yourself accountable, and to start to shift that energy that's around you and making way for change. Yeah, there are many ideas of, you know, how to go about that visioning exercise, and, you know, joy check your socks. If, you know, it's too much to take everything out of your closet, I'll allow it. Just take all the socks you can find from around your home, put them in a pile, and start there. Make the space in your schedule for that marathon. And, you know, you're very welcome to contact me if you would like some feedback about what your situation is, or some guidance, and I'd love to keep in touch. That's all I've got for today.
Great. Thank you, Amy. And thanks to all of you for taking the time to join us today. Today's webinar was recorded, so if you'd like to rewatch or pass along to anyone else who you think could benefit from Amy's expert advice, just let your advisor know, or reach out to pvnews@myprivatevista.com, and we'll be happy to provide that link to replay for you. Otherwise, everyone be well and have a great rest of your day.